Ready to unlock some superpowers? Because today we're diving into atomic habits, and it's all about harnessing the power of those tiny changes we make every day.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in thinking we need these huge overhauls to see real progress, but Atomic Habits shows us just how powerful those small, consistent actions can be. It's about playing the long game.
Okay, so let's talk about this 1% better each day idea. 1%, that really doesn't sound like a lot. Is that truly the key here?
Well, it's not about it being easy. It's about consistency. It's like compound interest, right? You start small, but over time, those gains multiply, and suddenly you look back and you're miles from where you started.
I like that, the compound interest of self-improvement.
Yeah.
Okay, so say I'm sold on this whole small changes thing. Do you have any really good examples of how this works in the real world?
Oh, tons. But one of the best has to be the British cycling team. For years, they were just, okay, nothing special. But then they brought in a new coach who decided to focus on making tiny 1% improvements in every single area.
Every area, really, like where?
I'm talking everything: diet, sleep schedules, even down to the type of massage gel they used for recovery.
Seriously, they changed the massage gel.
Yep. They tested a bunch of different gels to find the one that could shave off even a few seconds of recovery time. Every little advantage added up.
And what happened?
It totally revolutionized the sport. This team went from being pretty average to dominating the cycling world, all because of those tiny changes they made consistently.
Okay, so now I'm starting to see what you mean. It's those little things that we often don't even think about. Those can make or break us.
Yeah, precisely. But remember, it goes both ways. Those little bad habits we have, they compound too, often without us even realizing.
Okay, so if it's not just about setting big goals, what is it about then?
It's about building the right systems. See, goals are just the destination, but it's the system, the daily habits that actually get us there. Atomic Habits argues that falling in love with that process, that's what's really important.
So instead of just saying, I want to write a book, I need to focus on building a daily writing habit.
Exactly. One is a wish, the other one that's a system for making it happen. It's about becoming the type of person who achieves their goals almost effortlessly because those habits are just a natural part of who they are.
That makes so much sense. Okay, but how do we actually do that? Where do we even begin with building those systems?
Well, James Clear gives us a fantastic framework. He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change. They're like your secret weapons for transforming your habits.
Okay, I'm ready. What are they?
So, law number 1 is make it obvious. Because you can't change a habit if you don't even know you're doing it, right?
You're telling me I know I'm guilty of going through my day on autopilot sometimes.
We all do it. And that's why Clear suggests creating what he calls a habits scorecard. You write down everything you do in a day, and I mean everything. Then you can take a good, hard look at whether those habits are actually helping you become the person you want to be.
I like that. It's like holding up a mirror to your daily routine. Okay, so what's law number 2?
Make it attractive. Think about it.
Yeah.
We're naturally drawn to things that are enjoyable, right? So how can we make those positive habits we want more appealing?
So it shouldn't feel like a chore.
Exactly. Figure out what motivates you and then find a way to make that new habit enjoyable. Like if you hate exercising, but you love listening to podcasts, try listening to your favorite podcast while you work out.
Bundle it up. Make it fun. I like it.
Right. Now, law number 3 is make it easy. We're all busy, so the easier a habit is to do, the more likely we are to stick with it.
This is where willpower often fails me. It's so much easier to just scroll on my phone than it is to go for a run after a long day.
That's exactly it. So you have to set up your environment in a way that encourages those good habits. Make the cues for them really obvious and make those bad habits harder to do, out of sight, out of mind.
So be strategic, set yourself up for success. Makes sense. Okay, what's the final law?
This one is all about the reward. Make
Okay.
it satisfying.
All right.
We all love that feeling of getting something done. It's like our brains give us a little reward, and that makes us want to do it again.
Exactly. Okay, so we don't have to wait for some big payoff down the road to feel good. We can actually build those rewards into the process itself.
I like that.
It's all about those small wins, those little celebrations along the way. And here's a cool trick. These 4 laws, they work in reverse too.
What do you mean?
Think about it. Let's say you want to break a bad habit. Well, you just flip the script. Make that habit invisible, unattractive, difficult to do, and definitely not satisfying.
So it's like having this awesome tool that works both ways. I love it.
Exactly. Now, have you heard of habit stacking? Because this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's about building a chain of good habits, right?
Right.
Precisely. You're using the power of association. It's like You know when you stack dominoes and then knock over that first one, they all fall down in a row? Well, habit stacking is kind of like that you link a new habit to one you're already doing.
Oh, I see. Instead of trying to change my whole routine at once, I can just start by attaching a new habit to something I already do consistently. That makes it seem much easier to stick with.
It's all about making it easy on yourself. Like, think about your morning routine. You could stack, drink a glass of water with, take my vitamins. So as soon as you finish that first one, it triggers that next habit.
And then you just keep building from there. I think it's just like creating momentum throughout your day.
That's exactly it. And speaking of making things easier, what about those times when even getting started on a new habit feels impossible?
Ugh, yeah, I know that feeling. That's when I usually give up.
Well, there's this great rule in the book. It's called the 2-minute rule. And it basically says that when you're first starting a new habit, it should never take more than 2 minutes to do.
2 minutes. Seriously, that's like the length of a song.
Exactly. You're making that initial step so ridiculously easy that you just can't say no. So instead of run a marathon as your goal, it's put on my running shoes.
Okay, now that's something I can actually get behind. So we're talking about showing up consistently, building that habit, even if it's just a tiny step at first.
Precisely. You're proving to yourself that you can do it, and from there you can build on that success slowly but surely.
It's kind of like that saying, slow and steady wins the race. Now, this whole idea of gradually increasing difficulty, isn't that like the Goldilocks zone of habits?
You got it. Clear calls it the Goldilocks rule, and it's all about finding that sweet spot for challenge. Because if something is too easy, we get bored. But if it's too hard, we get frustrated and give up.
So it's about finding that balance, something challenging enough that it keeps us interested, but not so tough that it makes us want to quit.
Exactly. And the key is to really pay attention to how you're feeling. Are you feeling challenged but not defeated? That's how you know you're in the zone.
Okay, so this is all great, right? We're building systems, optimizing habits, focusing on those small wins. But it seems like it'd be easy to get so caught up in the doing part that we forget about why we're even doing it in the first place.
That's a really great point. It's easy to get stuck on autopilot. And that's why Clear talks about the importance of reflection. Building habits is great, but we also have to regularly step back and ask ourselves if those habits are still serving us well.
So it's not a set it and forget it thing?
Nope, not at all. Think of it like tending a garden. You plant those seeds, you water them, but you also have to do some weeding every now and then, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we build reflection into this process in a way that actually leads to change?
Well, Clear has a couple of really useful tools for this. He suggests doing an annual review. Basically, you look back over the past year and evaluate what worked well, what didn't work so well, and what you learned along the way. He also suggests an integrity report.
An integrity report? That
Yeah.
sounds kind of intense. What is that exactly?
Basically, it's a way to check in with yourself and make sure your habits are still lining up with your core values. You know, who you really want to be.
Right, it's like we're constantly evolving, so the habits that worked for us a year ago might not be serving us anymore.
It's about making sure you're living in alignment with who you are and who you're becoming.
I like that. Okay, so as we wrap up here, any final thoughts on this whole atomic habits journey?
You know, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. There will be days or even weeks where we fall off the wagon.
Oh, for sure. It happens to all of us.
Exactly. But the important thing is to just keep going. Don't beat yourself up. Just focus on taking those small steps forward.
It's all about building that consistency.
Yeah.
One good choice at a time.
That's what it boils down to. And remember, we've just scratched the surface here today. Atomic Habits is packed with even more strategies and stories that can help you make real, lasting changes in your life.
It's definitely a book I'm going to be recommending to everyone. And listeners, we'd love to hear from you too. What resonated most with you today? What's one small habit you're ready to start building?